All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Cassady Quintana. I am the brand ambassador here at Travel Media Group. Happy December. We are almost at the end of the year. Thank you for joining our webinar, even though it's a little bit earlier this month. I hope everyone's having a great day so far. Super excited about this topic. I think it's a perfect way to wrap up this year as we head into 2026. So, just a couple of announcements before I get rolling with today's topic. Number one, as you see, it's just me today. Ryan is out in Las Vegas at the ILHA Inspire USA conference. So, if you know anybody that's out there, make sure they connect with him while he is there. Going to be a lot of great content coming from that as well. Can't wait to hear how the event goes. But thank you again for joining me today. Make sure you can see myself as well as the presentation. So if you're not seeing both of those, there are some buttons that you can mess around to make sure you have access to those. Just a couple other things. We have our LinkedIn pages on the right side. Make sure you connect with us on LinkedIn. A lot of the stuff we're talking about here and that we talk about in most of our webinars, we share through our LinkedIn pages as well. So make sure you connect with all of us. Stay up to date, right? This is the kind of stuff we're always talking about. And as a busy hotelier, it's much easier to get your information from a trusted source that's looking at this information every single day. So with that being said, let's jump into today's topic, right? So this is another edition of our greatest hits series. So back in 2019, Ryan conducted a similar webinar, a little bit different of kind of what we're going to talk about, but the same idea, right? How is our hotel's online presence going to paint a picture for potential guests, right? So we're going to look at how we can analyze all of our channels and see what are guests seeing online about our property. So before we jump into that, I want to launch a poll that basically just asks, oh, here we go. Okay. What channel do you feel is the most difficult to paint a true impression of your hotel to your potential guests? So when we put ourselves in the shoes of a guest, what do you think might be the hardest one for them to get an idea of what your hotel is truly actually like? So your web page or online listings, the reviews that people are leaving, do you think they're accurate or not? Your review responses, do you think that the responses you're giving portray how you feel about your guests, how you care about your guests, or your social media profile? So which one is kind of the most difficult for you to really show guests who you are, what your property stands for, your amenities, everything there would be needing to know about your property before they stay with you? So I'll give you a couple of seconds to answer this poll. And this can be different for depending on what kind of property you are, depending what season you're in right now, depending where you are with your social media. Everyone might be across the board. So I'll give you just a couple of more seconds to complete this poll as these responses come in. All right. Okay, so reviews overwhelmingly 73%. You think it's difficult. So this may be, maybe one guest had a terrible experience for whatever reason. They left a terrible review. Maybe there was something out of context. Maybe they were upset about something and you handled it the best they could. But this makes a lot of sense, right? Because I feel like the other three things we can have a lot of control over. But the one variable that we really have no control over is reviews, especially on a platform like Google, where literally anybody could go and leave a review, even if they didn't stay with you. So that makes sense, right? It's really difficult, especially because you may interpret a guest experience one way, they may interpret in another way. So good to know. I'm not surprised by this answer again, because that is the one variable we can't control. But let's talk about 2019, right? This was the last time that Ryan talked to us about this topic. Pre-pandemic, if you can even think to what it was like before the pandemic, it's really hard, right? But traveling was simple. Research was simpler. Travel behavior was simpler. So most of the time, a lot of travelers were following the same patterns. We would look at some review sites. We would maybe look at your hotel website after we looked at those reviews, and maybe, just maybe, we would look at your social media. But at that time, before the pandemic, I feel like social media wasn't as big for hotels, obviously, as it became after the pandemic. So, back then, a strong rating and handful of positive reviews could really carry your online reputation. Reviews was at the very top, and of course it still is, but now we have to take into account a bunch of other factors, right? Reviews is only part of it. So let's talk a little bit about what changed after 2019. Traveler expectations changed, research behavior became fragmented, and now your reputation, like I said, is living across dozens of digital signals, not just your reviews anymore. So a little timeline. When COVID started, right? We had this digital acceleration. Everybody was switching to online first. You were switching to online first. I was switching to online first. This was the only way we could stay connected with the people we loved, with our friends and family, with businesses we enjoyed, with hotel properties, obviously. But this is where we really saw social content explode and contactless information became essential. We could no longer just talk to each other in person, go grab a cup of coffee, meet down in the lobby for breakfast. Everything was more difficult, right? We saw a drop in human interaction. There was a lot of things that happened, but the one pro of social media was that it let us stay connected. So then we talk about 2022 to 24, social discovery and AI adoption, right? So TikTok, I know especially for my generation, Gen Z, during 2020, TikTok really took off. I was posting content, my friends were posting content, businesses were even starting to post content, right? So then we were using it as a search engine. Google within the last year has started pulling social content. I've said this before, but Google has that short form tab. When you click that tab, it's mainly TikTok videos. It's mainly Instagram Reels, right? It's pulling that social content so that when people do their searches, they can have it all in one place. And now we're even seeing AI assistants begin making recommendations, especially with the capability of ChatGPT being able to say, hey, I want to stay at this hotel. Can you tell me about it? Now we're even seeing integrations with booking.com and Expedia on Instagram and TikTok. And I can only imagine that this is going to continue to explode. So this takes us into 2025 and beyond, right? Research is fragmented. People are doing their research in all different shapes, forms, sizes, places. We're relying on different channels, right? Because no longer can I just trust reviews. I want to see your social media. I want to see other guest experiences. So kind of bringing into this topic for today, your reputation must be strong and consistent everywhere, right? So let's talk about what those channels may be. I want you to think about just one specific hotel, one random property, but we're going to have 3 different travelers. These travelers are not going to research the same exact way as each other. So the first one, they may check reviews, some may scroll social media, and then some, especially now, and as we continue on with the development of AI, some people are going to rely solely on that. But all 3 of these people are still choosing where to stay. Even though their mode of research is different, they're still looking for this hotel. So the best way I figured we could do this was with real characters. So I have Jack, Jill, and Jane, 3 different characters. They're all going to be looking at the same one hotel. So let's get into Jack. He's our review reader. He is strictly looking at reviews. So this hotel has great reviews, right? They're number 47 out of 165 hotels on TripAdvisor. The most recent review is that it's the absolute best. Great star ratings, professional responses from the hotel. Jack has nothing bad to say about this property because all the reviews are good. He's seeing that the hotel is responsive and they actually care about their guests. So why wouldn't Jack want to stay at this hotel? So Jack does proceed to book this hotel. Then we're going to talk about Jill, our social scroller. So Jill started out like Jack and looked at the reviews first. Again, everything was great, right? Reviews looked good, responses looked good. But then she looks at their social media, right, and sees that their Facebook and Instagram is outdated, right? Their last post hasn't been since 2014. She realizes that, well, the reviews may say one thing, but I'm really big on social media. I want to make sure that this hotel is Instagrammable, that my followers will like it, that I can create and post content, be able to tag the hotel, be engaged with the hotel. There's nothing, right? So she ends up canceling her booking reservation and going with a competitor down the street that has a better social media presence. This is going to be really big with younger generations, especially with influencers right now, family influencers, people that just like creating content. If your hotel doesn't have a strong social media presence, you're missing out on people like this that are willing to tag your property, that want to tag your property, that want to see what's happening, right? Instagram is the best place to show what daily events you're having, what programming is going on. It really allows your guests to connect with you before they ever stay with you. So Jill, unfortunately, booked and then canceled, went with a competitor that had a better social media presence. Then we have Jane, our AI researcher. So she is solely talking to ChatGPT, right? She is not looking at reviews. She is not looking at social media. She is a busy woman. She doesn't have time to research. So We know that AI is going to pull information from everywhere. That includes your reviews, your listings, and again, remember that social content, especially from Google. So, AI, again, the same hotel, remember, great reviews, but a lack of social presence. AI is going to recommend a competitor that has more consistent online signals, right? So she asked, "Hey, I like this hotel in Florida. Can you tell me if it's good?" ChatGPT comes back and says, "Based on the information, this has strong reviews. Travelers mentioned clean rooms and a pleasant overall stay, but I wasn't able to find much recent content on their social media. So it's harder to get a current feel for the property. But a nearby competitor also has great reviews and an active, up to date social media presence that shows what guests can expect right now. Would you rather book with them instead?" This is incredible. I mean, it's incredible, but it's a little scary, right? Because if you're sitting here thinking, well, I don't have a social media presence or it's not where I want it to be, this could be you. And you have no idea that you're missing out on these bookings because AI is saying, hey, they have great reviews. So if you want to go with them, you can. But if you're looking for a strong social media presence, if you want to know what's happening right now, I recommend this other place, right? So unfortunately, Jane is not going to book with this property. So we had one hotel, right? And I bet this hotel is awesome. Clearly, they had good reviews. I bet the staff is super friendly. They obviously care about their guests with their responses, but we had 3 different impressions, 3 different outcomes, right? The strong reviews won Jack over. He doesn't really care about the rest of it. The weak social media lost Jill to the competitor down the street. And then the weak social led to AI to recommend somewhere else. And Jane is kind of on the fence, right? Now she doesn't really know what she wants to do because the reviews are good, but there's no social content. Should she book with the competitor? These bookings can be lost because your hotel's online presence isn't well rounded. You could have A+ reviews, A+ responses, and no social media. And who's to say you're not losing out on bookings? And again, you wouldn't know that because they're not telling you. But these are the things we need to audit, especially as we're heading into 2026. Things that can be better, things we need to do to make sure that our hotel is well rounded, right? Because reviews, that's trust. People trust experiences from other guests more than they will your property. Your social media allows your personality to show, right? Jill was really heavy on the wanting to post content, wanting to engage with your hotel, but there was no personality. The reviews are good, but nothing that she could post on Instagram, on TikTok. Social media allows you to show who you are, who your staff is, beyond your property, right? Your hotel is going to show your amenities, what you have to offer, but really what makes a hotel is your staff, your programming, the way you care about and take care of your guests. And then AI just gives you that authority, right? We're especially going to see that as we continue on and we see these integrations with Booking and Expedia and probably more to come. That if your hotel is firing on all cylinders, everything is lined up perfectly, AI is going to see that and it instantly boosts you to the top. So you really need all 3 of these to influence every single type of traveler, right? Especially as we're seeing Gen Z and soon Gen Alpha come up into the travel industry. They're all researching differently. There's many, many ways to learn about a hotel. So let's talk about how your online presence is your property's paintbrush, right? What can we do? Make sure you're keeping those reviews in good light with your consistent responses, right? I want to point this out because you could get 5-star reviews, you could get 1-star reviews, but it's really imperative that you respond to every single one because like I mentioned in the beginning, and even you guys voted in the poll, it's hard to show who your hotel is with just the reviews that are left online. The way you make up for those or the way that you shine is responding to them with care, right? Even if you disagree with a review, and especially if you're responding in-house, you may take it personal, you may be offended, you may respond or want to respond and set the record straight, which is important, of course, if there is something that's factually wrong, to set the record straight. But coming from a place of sincerity, authenticity, we're really sorry, we do care about you, we hope to see you again. That goes a long way because I can look past a 1-star review for someone that may have had a one-off bad experience because the hotel responded and wanted to make it right. And then, of course, I feel like I preach this every time y'all jump on a webinar on my LinkedIn all the time, maintaining an active social presence, posting, liking comments on your post, commenting back, making sure that you're staying engaged, right? It's one thing to just post, but don't post and ghost. You have to stay engaged within your community as well. And then just ensure your digital footprint is accurate. So when I say digital footprint, this is again making sure your social media is up to date, your reviews are responded to, but double check your OTAs. I know me and Ryan mentioned this on how to make your hotel Instagram Insta awesomer, right? But it's the same thing on OTAs and your website, making sure that everything is the same name of your property, the location, the number, photos are up to date, everything that AI would be pulling, making sure that all of those are the same as each other and it doesn't have an issue finding that information. And then using your data to highlight strengths and fix issues. I know we talk a lot about guest sentiment here at TMG. Super important to understand what's working, what your guests like, but even more important to understand what's not working and what they don't like. And don't just respond to a review and brush it off, right? Because that person took time out of their day to either leave a good review, that's stuff you can post on your social media, or leave a bad review. And hey, maybe I need to talk to that staff member. Maybe we need to rework some of our policies. Maybe we need to rework some of our rules using that data, right? This is stuff that our team is looking at every single day. We're always talking about guest sentiment because it's super important. If you're just ignoring it, you're not going to see your hotel improve. But that's kind of where we come in right here at TMG. I preach this all the time. You guys are busy hoteliers. This kind of stuff is not at the forefront of your mind, nor should it really be, right? You weren't hired because you're a professional writer and responding to reviews. Some of you may have been hired to be a social media manager, but some of you, maybe that was just thrown on you because you're the youngest one there, you're the sales manager, whatever the case may be. There are people that can help, and we are those people, right? We respond to reviews, we will post on your social media, and we will monitor your online reputation for you, right? All three of these things work together, and they're all equally important, right? We want to make sure we respond to reviews, which is what our Respond and Resolve team does. Social media, we have an entire team of creators here that do that. And then online reputation, our CSR team is working with you on a regular basis to see ways that we can improve your online reputation. Again, you're busy, you're dealing with guests, you're the face of the property. That should be your number one priority. All of these things will pile up, and that's when you become overwhelmed and feel like you can't do it all on your own. And that is why we are here to help. So before we log off, I know today was a quicker webinar, but it's super straightforward, right? But it's things that you have to implement. On the paper, it seems simple. Yeah, Cass, I understand what you're saying, but if we're not putting it into practice, it's not going to work, right? So we need to make sure that these things are being taken care of. Now is the time to do it as we head into 2026. So I just want to launch this quick poll. If you're interested in learning more about our industry leading solutions, so yes or no. If you're not sure, maybe you just have a couple of questions that you'd like to get a few answers for, or just talk to any of us, you can hit that not sure button. But I'll leave this poll up for a moment. It really just helps us out. Of course, we are here to help you guys every day. We want to make sure that your online presence is painting an accurate, correct picture of what your property stands for, right? Who you are, who your personality is, what you want guests to see. There should be no question when I look at your website, when I look at your social media, when I look at your reviews, what you stand for, what's important to you, and what your personality is. So again, I'll leave this up for a couple of more seconds. I know the responses kind of come in slowly, but I want to just give another couple announcements while I leave this poll up. Social Success Series 2026 will be starting in January. Make sure you stay tuned. If you completed your badge this past year, congratulations officially. Make sure you're around for 2026 for round 2. There will be 4 parts, 1 per quarter. So make sure you plan to be there for that. It's going to be a great time. Make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn so you can find out what the topic of that first session is. And then throughout the next year, we'll be doing more of these greatest hits and keeping up with that Social Success Series. So I'm going to throw out my contact information here too, just in case you need it. Again, connect with me on LinkedIn. That is where I'm active the most. I'm on there every single day. I'm happy to answer DMs, talk to you guys. I'm posting new updates, social media updates, trends that are happening every week. So do that as well. My phone number is there too, in case you would like to call. But I just want to thank you all for joining today. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And since we won't be talking before the holidays, have a happy holiday season. Stay safe, stay warm if you're somewhere where it's cold. But I appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you in January. Have a good week, everyone.